Hi, everyone. I'm Stephen Stonberg, the CFO and COO of Bittrex Global and the host of our AMA today. And we are very lucky to be joined by both Matthew Pickup and Ethan Gilmore from Carbon Utility Token, or the CUT token. So guys, thanks so much for joining us today. We're really excited about our partnership. Congrats on your recent listing on the exchange.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thanks. Really excited to chat today, Stephen.
Pleasure. I think we have a lot of questions from our community, which I'm excited to dive into it. I think it might be helpful for those listening who aren't really that familiar with carbon credits. This has been around for a long time. Everyone's talked about it. It's so topical now, carbon credits and ESG in particular. It's coming at a time when, it's just a coincidence that blockchain's booming. And it seems almost like blockchain's enabling a way for people to actually invest in these, because a lot of the stuff that they're calling ESG isn't really that helpful. So maybe if you want to talk, just give people a background on carbon credits and how this is like a whole new thing with crypto before we dive into the question. So it's more, they can understand it a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's so much history and so many links and stories trying to get sustainability or achieve carbon neutrality, but it's not new just because it's in the news cycles, 20 years plus since 97 when they put out the Kyoto Accords, and these are the goals, and this is how we could do it. This is how it could be done. There's a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement around what that was going to lead to. The global market and agreeable pricing and terms and things, it never really matured to a point that was able to be accessible either to impact or to the people who were really interested to get involved. So even the champions, there hasn't necessarily been a tangible and workable market for these till now. And it's so true, like you say, the blockchain coming just kind of fits as that perfect mesh backbone to solve so much, of the problems that maybe the past has seen. What's the truth? What's the provenance of these things? Where do they come from? And who has had them in the past? The blockchain doesn't allow for too much fudging around in those areas. It's really kind of a great solution for a huge issue that's held back probably the advancement of carbon credit, carbon offsets, the entire kind of market for these.
So we'll dive into the questions and maybe we'll get some more color. I think what I just thought was interesting is that, carbon credits was not something, it's this thing that's been talked about for like 20 years. Right now, there is a market for it, but it's just like companies create them, like Tesla creates a lot of carbon offsets because they're in making batteries and electric cars, and they can sell those to polluters, which is interesting. And a lot of Tesla's money actually comes from that, which people may not be aware of. But you as a person wouldn't be able to go and just buy those. Like there's no way to trade. So if you want to offset your pollution in your house, your gas guzzler, everything else. So that's what I thought was so cool about these tokens. And also if you're worried about by buying Bitcoin, which creates a lot of pollution, you could also just buy this token to offset your Bitcoin. So lots of interesting uses. So let's dive right into the questions. The first question, which I think will give people some background, perhaps a bit more. Can you give an overview on the tokenomics of CUT?
Yeah, absolutely. Even prior to the numbers of the tokenomics is kind of to explain that it's not a project where we're looking to inflate code and fake tokens and pick a number and just go and try to sell them and create a scarcity market. The CUT token is backed and connected to an existing real life physical pool of carbon offsets, fully owned by the project, fully realized in the real world. So with that, our limiting and enabling factor is always going to be tied back to the token supply represents what are we as a company have in terms of real offsets. So the launching supply that we're seeing go out now and are very, very excited to be doing so with Bittrex Global in the last few weeks. We've minted about 545 million CUT to be, worked out to the market over the coming months, with 75 million of those being in strategic reserve, basically kind of what we have on hand for really cool partnerships and ways that we can help show the utility of CUT, some of which are going to be coming up in just a few days, that we're really excited to show how you can be using these tokens and subtracting them completely from the book, not to get ahead of that. And a very small team portion, around 4% or something, which because we wanted to make sure that the world and everybody saw that our success and our work comes in the future onboarding and people actually getting to use this token. It's not like 80% of everything is held in a team and trying to make things look a certain way to achieve their goals. We really are committed to the future of building this project and years out and developing the kind of tech tools that go along with it. So that's kind of a rough, very simple overview of our tokenomics. Is that we're 400 million of those are to be out to sale. The proceeds of those goes to purchasing more carbon offsets, developing the technology, and helping get behind more marketing, because blockchain has a whole rabbit hole to go down in terms of education and things that you want to understand to get involved, and so does carbon offsetting. So alongside of kind of the token and the technology that's going to power it all, there's always got to be an educational kind of marketing aspect. So that's kind of how our rollout and division of our tokenomics looks at launch right now.
Well, thanks for that answer. And no surprise here, we've received a ton of questions from the community around cut in the environment in general. So I know you've touched on it a bit, but the first question from the community is, how is the carbon footprint related to blockchain technology, and how does cut intervene in it?
That's a great question, and look, we obviously we love blockchain technology. We're not being critical of technologies like Bitcoin or Ethereum at all. I mean, they really were the first great use case for our industry. But we're really excited that cut can actually help offset the carbon footprint of Bitcoin holdings and Ethereum holdings and other cryptos, and that's exactly one way that it can address the fact of the carbon footprint of blockchain technology. And our technology too at Cut allows us to go from the very, very small to the very, very large. So an individual could buy a cup of coffee and offset their carbon footprint. A major corporation could also offset all the Bitcoin that they're holding on their balance sheet by buying Cut. So, obviously we heard today that Tesla is accepting Bitcoin to buy their cars, right? Now, obviously we can't touch any companies in the United States, but Tesla has offshore subsidiaries. And if individuals offshore wanted to offset the carbon footprint of the Bitcoin that they're using to buy their electric Tesla, that's something else that we could do. These are real-time use cases that our technology allows people to actually participate in climate change and lowering their carbon footprint of
so ironically, all the good they're doing by buying an electric car could be undone by using Bitcoin.
I mean, yeah, we could do it partially or 100%. I mean, that's a use case. I think it's a great example too, because people know what a Tesla is, and if you're going to use a great technology like Bitcoin, which unfortunately isn't as clean right now as it could be in the future, Cut can help with that, and that's something that we can do right now. In addition to just the carbon footprint of Bitcoin and Ethereum, Cut also allows it can help companies that want to buy Bitcoin and Ethereum become more ESG. And ESG, for people who aren't familiar, stands for environment, social, and governance. And we can help get those scores up. To get better scores, to show that companies that, even though they want to strengthen their balance sheet with Bitcoin, they can still do so and improve their ESG scores.
Okay, so by holding, sorry, there's a bit of echo, but by holding the Cut tokens, what does that actually do for the environment? Like, how will the success of Cut specifically lead to a decrease of carbon? Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think first there's the overarching ways that by supporting Cut, buying Cut, holding Cut, you're supporting something different than what we're talking about. We're talking about a green ecosystem, something that's kind of connected to real world climate offsets, but to take it a step further, even beyond that kind of underlying what's our network kind of value derived from, is that Cut has a utility, and the success of our project is that people activate that utility. The utility of our smart contract is that it gives you the ability to not only buy this Cut, but to retire carbon offsets completely, end that cycle. Retiring offsets on the blockchain, then that forces the Cut team to have to go out, get the supply back. We have to go back out to real world producers, independent power producers who are doing fantastic things to earn these offsets, and we're incenting their market now. And that's kind of the end goal, to come full circle, that if somebody's retiring a whole bunch of cut off the book and forcing cut to have to go mint more from real world projects, then the person pushing that button on their smartphone or on the exchange or MetaMask, wherever somebody does a retirement, you're actually pushing the button on real world climate impact. And that's kind of where we see the strongest kind of division between what we're doing and a lot of other crypto projects.
So that sort of leads to the next question, which I think you might have partially answered. So can you, the community wants to know, can you explain what, quote, retiring carbon offsets, quote, means? If a cut token is going to be retired, why create it in the first place? Which I have to agree is a pretty good question.
No, absolutely. And I'm glad to have it to kind of try to address not only the retirement concept being unique, but if you're going to retire, then why bother doing it? I think kind of the most low-hanging fruit answer is that cut was created to help that facilitate that retirement that you're talking about. Why do it in the first place is how do you know it's ever been done in the first place? If you have a click box at the bottom of a online sales form, or you went on to prescribe for a certificate to say you carbon offset something, how in the world do you actually have any connectivity or trust that it happened, where it happened, how much it happened? That's what the ledger is enabling in essence to begin with. This is how retirements can be tracked. This is how you can have the confidence that your actions have taken place. But why Ethereum started to get a lot of press various times over the years is because it has actual smart contracts built in, aside from Bitcoin, which is fantastic for many uses that we're seeing come out. Ethereum has the smart contract in there that can articulate multiple different functions. And the one that we've tapped into with Cut is built in a smart contract function called retirement. So you as a holder, nothing you ever hold or buy is at risk and different than anything else you're trading. But if you choose to pursue to retire a volume, you have 10 cuts and you want to go retire one, you can use a MetaMask wallet or something of that nature, basically in the workflow there, to signal your intent in the smart contract. Here's how much I actually want to retire forever on the blockchain. So rather than being burned or destroyed, there's a full record of everything that's happened there, kind of within the smart contract network that as a holder, I've chose to retire. I bought in because I love the project and I wanted to support green. I retired because A, I had a carbon footprint that I wanted to certifiably make carbon neutral. B, I just wanted to, invest in the future that might be brighter because of the things that we're doing. But what retirement means is it's never going to be traded again. It's locked there and kind of retired on chain in the digital sense, which triggers us in the physical sense to go and actually retire those offsets in an audible way in the physical world and have to go get more to feed the cycle again and kind of keep the impact of cut going. Great.
Well, I think that's interesting. Maybe I'll ask the next question, which is again from our community to Ethan. And so specifically, and I think that's a great technical answer, but maybe to a layman, can you explain what makes cut environmentally friendly?
So Sure. Happy to take that one. So when you look at just blockchain use cases, and you also look at how difficult the voluntary carbon offset market has been traditionally, we make the onboarding and the actual tracking of the project that produced the carbon offset very transparent. We protect against double spending and all of these things, and we track it all the way down to the use case, to the person that's actually retiring it, whether that's a corporation, whether it's someone's using it to offset a given service or activity. And we have that is actual real time. It is you're literally helping to support carbon offset projects that are making a difference. And a lot of people, when they think about climate change and things of that nature, they go, "This is such a big problem. How can one individual help? How can I do something as an individual?" A lot of other corporations too would like to also help with this problem. They want to help with ESG too, because if you're an institutional investor, I think it was CNBC said that over $51 billion of new capital was raised last year. This is new capital in 2020 for ESG focused funds. So this whole thing is about engaging from the individual to the corporate institutional level on, we are making the onboarding of the carbon offset market, and we are also allowing, through blockchain technology, the ability to track and offset very small to very large activities. And that makes a real-time difference today. That is how this is an environmentally friendly project, and it's what cut is all about.
Great. So I think the next question was, what is cut doing that is more preventative than reactive to issues like global warming?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, to a certain extent, a lot of what anybody is doing is reactive to global warming, but I think a focus of the question is towards the future, and that is exactly the type of projects and enabling that cut is aligned with. When we talk about going to market and supporting projects and building ongoing relationships with these producers who are either destroying greenhouse gases, helping offset diesel generators and fossils, they're helping create these positive activities. These are the projects that we're investing in with cut, all of us together who are supporting the ecosystem and retiring and forcing it going out there. If this year and next they're seeing a spike in this global carbon offset market because of the impacts and the demand that we're helping enable buyers trying to find their way in to these assets, then we're impacting how fast they grow. We're impacting that they survive. We're impacting that new piece of equipment and staffing that's kind of helping them go on. And in a smaller way, the enabling that happens with us is we're really focused on education. And simply by going through the process, if you've ever done it, to try and say, how do I offset myself? How do I offset a month of me and my family or something else? It's simply through that process and trying to say, wow, to offset this certain portion of my company is massive. It really shines a light on which parts of life and economy and within certain geographies, which ones actually are the bigger footprints. So, the trickle down of that hopefully will eventually have behavioral impact as well. But, right out of the gate, we're working with people building forward into the future who are destroying harmful gases and helping build more efficient and clean futures for us.
I think it's such a cool project because I think, everyone's talked, again, there's so much just noise around ESG and climate. And I think, a lot of the solutions don't really change the environment very much. But I think here's a chance where people can really put their money where their mouth is and actually go out and buy these tokens. And you can also, and I know you're going to start to publish like how much to buy to offset a Bitcoin, but in theory, you could create some ratio like to offset, like if you want to offset your household life, you could buy this amount of cut. So, it's such a new thing. Plus all these institutional holders could offset their portfolios and make themselves truly ESG. And even if they can't hold crypto, I'm sure there's a way they could figure out to have somebody hold the tokens on their behalf or do something else. So maybe even Greta Thunberg should be buying these tokens and telling all of her,
nice.
Like,
does she have a Bittrex account?
And again, interestingly, although it should loosely track the price of a carbon credit, these things could also be a speculative investment in their own right. So, the market, obviously they've only started trading. So, you could, not just be, you can be greedy and good at the same time, which I always think is a win-win. But going back to, so I guess the next question, enough for me, the next question from the audience or the community was, which I think is that, follows on to this. What are your thoughts, particularly on how cryptocurrency and blockchain at large can make an impact on reducing our carbon footprint? I mean, obviously tell them to buy cut, but what other ways can they do it?
Well, the use of when we first started talking about cut, it was you look at the blockchain space at large, and you look at blockchain in many cases has been this elegant solution without a great use case. And when we're actually able to use blockchain technology to show transparency from the project that actually created it, to protect against double spending, to also and with that protection of double spending, we get to protect against fraud, because we are working with and we don't think we're being monitored. We're working with best of breed carbon offset projects because not all carbon offsets are created equally. We are not touching red or red plus credits. Simply because there's been a lot of instances, of fraud, illegal logging, and there's a lot of information on that. That's not even something that we've come up with. If you just type in red or red plus credits, there's a lot of issues there. So when you look at the use case of blockchain technology in the case of cut, just to help with, make the carbon offset market easier to onboard, and Stephen, like you said, from a standpoint of speculation, Yeah, I mean, look, we want people to use these offsets to make an actual tangible difference, but you do have to enable people that if they want to speculate and they think they can make a profit, that's going to also help the industry at large, because if there is profitability, and we think there will be, more carbon offset producers around the world will come online and use blockchain technology, hopefully alongside us and Cut and other projects, to help make a tangible difference that's measurable, and we've talked about this in the past. We think tree planting is great, but it's very hard to say, like, if you want to plant trees, by all means do it, but you do not plant trees and say that one tree that was planted that may have been given to 20 other people is offsetting this much carbon. The trees could get cut down, they can burn, there's all kinds of things. Plant trees to help the planet, great, but it's very difficult to say if you're manufacturing, let's say, tires or something like that, that's offsetting the amount of CO2 in your business from last year. So that's what why we think blockchain technology is such a great use case for the Cut project.
Yeah, just thinking out loud, you could probably get like companies to even give out the tokens as a reward for people, like making them environmentally friendly or helping them offset. And speaking of that, that leads into our next question. Who are you partnering with or seeking partnerships with that is mission aligned about the environment and reducing our carbon footprint? Like, are you working with any other teams or projects?
Yeah, definitely. We have kind of a, depending on which line of business, there's two sides to our partnerships. We're partnering on one side with independent power producers. We always love the example because it's so perfect to show, is the landfill gas destruction. We have those type of partnerships with people who are producing offsets, which is very important, but also have a history in the space in ways beyond our own internal team, to show like this is where things may have misstepped in the last 20 years, which has always been incredibly important moving forward. We're also, not looking too far outside of our own sphere when we start to get into, who's using these, who's offsetting, who's retiring within the data space, data providers, even more refined right into crypto projects. It aligns so well with the kind of tracking and all the tools out there. If you just want to track the footprint of this, and you can put any kind of an IoT, any kind of an implementation to big tech and put a footprint on it, those are exactly the kind of projects that we're targeting for our first partnerships, to show the delivery, because it's just numbers. As the numbers get more refined and we have a better idea what a certain footprint is or what that means, then we have the perfect idea how to integrate that with a solution that can, in summary, monthly reporting, annual something, or in real time, be working to offset certain activities with a known footprint. So that's kind of where that could mean a wallet, could mean an exchange, anything that's tracking any kind of transactions and taking flack for it. And NFTs are a fantastic example of that. You can't scroll through anywhere without seeing a billion NFT examples. NFTs then start getting hacked for being green, and that crypto's bad and everything's bad for the environment. But that shouldn't snuff out the conversation. That's really, again, down to the crux of what we're trying to do. We're trying to take enabling technologies and say, you go to a certain point, there's certain impacts and benefits of this. When it starts cratering against environmental negativity, if we can relieve that barrier and proceed as you were with these other technologies, that's kind of where Cut comes in. You're doing great things, and then you start to get a little bit of shame on the carbon footprint. Doesn't always mean you have to stop. Sometimes it means you have to have a more creative way. You don't have to divest. You can help green this part of your portfolio. And so
that's what's so cool about, blockchain and crypto is changing the world. And so, every industry can be accused. And I'm sure the banking industry, which is still quantum of size bigger than the crypto industry, consumes far more carbon than crypto does, even though on a per capita basis, it might be higher. But the crypto industry in its infancy has already solved the carbon credit problem. You've created a token. So I think, unlike banking, which I don't see them, they've tried and failed to do this. So
yeah, if somebody hates your NFT, make a green NFT. We got it.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right.
Cut tokens along with the NFT to offset the footprint. So there you go.
There you go.
You can't do that in banking. There's no carbon offset you can buy. And I think building on that, so one of our community members said they liked your core values: ambitious, eco-conscious, real impact, positive, and clear. Can you expand on what these mean to your team and community? How it's the ethos of your project?
Sure. So, Yeah, in regards to just saying that when we say ambitious, we're not saying that our team at Cut is ambitious. What we're saying is it's an ambitious notion to think that anyone can make a difference regarding climate change. That is what we're talking about when we say that. This is not, we don't have these delusions of grandeur at Cut. We think it's very ambitious, and it's also very doable and approachable for the average person to have meaningful change, and they have the ability, anyone, to help fight climate change. And that is part of what we mean by ambitious. When we're talking about eco-conscious and some of the other words that you mentioned, it's, we've made the onboarding process a lot easier. You don't have to go out and figure out the difference of various voluntary carbon offsets in the market. You don't have to figure out the difference between red and red plus and a landfill gas capture project that actually is destroying capture by sucking the methane out of off of a landfill, which are the ones that we focus on, where actual carbon capture has already happened and the carbon's been destroyed. Those onboarding elements make it a lot easier for anyone, from the CEO of a major company that just bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin to an average person who just wants to offset the carbon footprint, maybe of a flight going out to, going home to see their, parents or something like that. So those are our core values, and that is what we're really talking about. I mean, we've got a variety of different words on there, but these are the main points. These are the values of our company, and this is what we're trying to achieve at Cut, and we want to work with like-minded individuals. But we always caution, a lot of times corporations and individuals, they don't know where to start with climate change. And if you can get on Bittrex Global and you can open up a Bittrex Global account, you can get your Cut tokens there. So that's where we're starting. We want to expand from there, but that is really what our project is about.
Right. So I mean, I take away from that, I mean, obviously it's eco is good, and being environmentally friendly. No one's going to argue with that. I also think greed is good too, and the fact that you've merged the two together, that's really a winning. It's truly a winning combination, because people are ultimately incentivized by their wallet. So we want to incentivize them to do something good. So on that note, our next question from the community: what are 3 key points that you would pitch to an angel investor to get them to make an investment in Cut tokens?
Are we allowed to pitch angel investors? Okay, let's see.
Well, I think they mean not angel investors. I think
non-US angel investors, right?
I think community means like a new investor. What's your elevator pitch for Cut tokens?
I think probably best to start exactly where you left off. We talk about ESG, corporate social responsibility, CSR, all the different acronyms that, for whatever reason, everybody is kind of turning around to focus towards. Whatever resets of something that are happening right now are all leading towards that common thread. And that doesn't mean that anybody has any idea what that means. And that doesn't mean that we all have to have a decade of understanding the nuances of how to get involved in that in ways that aren't going to burn us. And kind of what we're offering here is a stake in that future. Saying, I'm bullish that in the decade, I like where this is all going. I haven't figured it all out yet, and I'm looking to get more involved. We're kind of offering a fast forward in a whole bunch of levels, not only on education like we talked about, but on things that we think are going to last. We're trying to look ahead to what are the few years down the road when people start saying, hey, these things aren't all the same, and hey, these things don't actually have the impact that I thought. We're going through the pains to try to pre-test ourselves to survive that kind of diligence. So if they're looking for three keys, one would be, just kind of we're trying to show the way to hang your own flag on a positive speculation towards the value of making something carbon neutral in the future. I think is going to be something that is still important, and maybe is even increased in cost or difficult of access. Or we're kind of trying to run out the red carpet for people who are already seeing that direction, and they want to go there in a tangible way that they can point to and report on and audit. And that's the kind of things that the ledger offers. Another key point, is that it's not just saying here's a carbon offset. It's almost like I view it as a refinement, because we're so close on the team. I'm sure we think lots of things about every turn of the project, but it's not just a carbon offset, right? We're talking about you're going to go to a broker and leverage some thousands of ton purchase or something. Like we're already out of the scope of so many possible footprints and so many interactions or so many budgets and other things that nobody's going to have. what we've done here on the blockchain as well is just nationally fractionalized all these things down to, whatever part of a gram or something else. I'm sure that's not the average way people are going to look to retire or transact in parts of grams. But point being, it's not all just kind of dummied down into this brokerage feeling that never survived and that didn't work. It's taken down to the micro level that you can engage with yourself. You want to take it up a step because your project or something wants an extra green seal to verify that we're considering the environment and our footprint of these activities. We've done the work to look at even what the numbers are. We check that box, And also, Ethan, you did a great job of kind of talking about the even more macro version of, what sizes of volumes and people of interest. But to whoever they are, we're not just saying this is a carbon offset. This is something you can interact with. It's something that's available 24/7. It's something that's available globally. It's something that has some transparency involved. So I think that's a big part of Cut. We're kind of taking that next level of what is it and how do I interact with it. Finally, I guess that it's a real use case, because when you talk about utility and what it is we're doing, it's not so much market driven. It's more scalable based on finding people who want to operate a certain utility. People might want to come and hold and trade, and there's a whole specific other market that are just Googling, how do I make this imprint? What could I ever do to say I have X kilograms, I have X something, and I just want to find a tool to retire it. So you can take this, you can retire it, and that transaction ends with a bit more of a kind of certainty around that answer, which is another recurring theme, that how blockchain has just helped this pitch be so much easier for us just by putting it all on Ethereum.
Great. So the last question from the community, Ethan, this one's for you. Well, actually for both of you, but why don't Ethan kick us off? What are the key plans for Cut in the coming year?
Yeah, well, it's so first off, we're really happy to be working with Bittrex Global now. You guys have been fantastic. You were the first ones to take a chance on us, and we're so happy to be working with you guys, because from a standpoint of we're based in Liechtenstein. We're working with a great exchange that does KYC. We want to obviously be on get on other multiple exchanges in the next 12 months that also do KYC, so we can grow and get our name out there. We also want to work with great companies, and if you happen to be the CEO of a major company and you've just bought billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and you have European subsidiaries, and you'd like to talk to us about carbon neutralizing your Bitcoin holdings, we want to talk to you. The other thing is, moving forward, we just want to get our name out there, also educating people, because we are here. We haven't been able to do very much marketing. And I think, carbon offsets, voluntary offsets, blockchain, these things can be pretty complicated. We're here. And even if you are not the CEO of a major billion-dollar corporation, and you just want to, offset the carbon footprint of going to breakfast, with your friend, and, driving your dog to the groomer, we can do that too. But also, if you're an institutional investor and you want to be able to show that your ESG, you have a better ESG score, because it could help you raise some of the billions of dollars that are chasing ESG, we want to talk to you too. So these are all the types of people and corporations and potential partnerships that we want to have in the next 12 months.
Great. Let's add super exciting. Matthew, anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I mean, that's a vision for a nice year or two. And on the background of that, we're really excited to help build out the ways that our tools can make it even easier for people. Yes, we've put it in a token. You can go out and retire carbon offsets now simply by holding a crypto on a wallet on your phone or something like that. But we're looking to build those tools further and further in to make it even simpler for people to onboard and understand. There's a lot of calculators, flight calculators, and household calculators, and other things that we're always trying our best to really stress test those numbers to be able to stand behind them and say, okay, great, we want to offset this footprint. We want to have a really great tools to show what this footprint is, and then to open source that kind of data to everybody else. This is what that kind of a footprint is, and that helps enable people to know, how many offsets they would need to plan certain kind of offsetting activities. So that's really where I see a lot of excitement too. You know, we really focused on getting this token right and getting the launch right and secured and all the things that we've accomplished. Now we're really excited to build out all these features and calculators and tools and get it moving the ways that we've been kind of visioning it to roll out.
Great. So I think just to sum it up, I think if the listeners who don't or haven't kind of figured this out yet, and I encourage you to spend some more time on looking at the project, but by using the blockchain, you can actually show the carbon offset. It's not just some, like you say, tree that's been sold 50 times and then gets chopped down. So there's an actual like pure track record of the carbon offset. And then on top of that, because it's a token, it's a liquid tradable instrument itself. So there's sort of like two innovations there which didn't exist before the blockchain. So really great project. Thank you so much for doing this project. I should also mention Liechtenstein, where you've issued it from, is also one of the greenest countries on planet Earth. So, which is just a coincidence. It's blockchain friendly and very ESG friendly as well as a place. So, great project, really interesting team. Thanks for joining us today. Again, Ethan and Matthew, great chatting with you, learning about CUT. So for our listeners who want to learn more about CUT and Carbon Utility Token, please go to cut.eco. Thanks again, Matthew and Ethan.
All right. Thanks, Steven. Appreciate it. Cheers.